I'll be honest, Emilie is not the strongest 5-star sub DPS in Genshin, but she actually has a good potential, especially when the right artifact is used. Just take a look at this.
This'll brighten up the place.
Hi, this is Earlbedo. In this video, we will compare which among Unfinished Reverie, Deepwood Memories, and Golden Troupe is the best artifact to use for Emilie. Just a disclaimer, this is not a full guide, but this video is created to help you decide which among these artifact sets suits your Emilie the best. So here's how we'll do it. We will check the highest damage from the damage sources of Emilie, which we will discuss in detail later. First is through her personal damage with burning without any team buff. Next is her personal damage with burning with complete team buff. By the end, we will see which one has the highest damage. We will also combine some artifact sets to reach her maximum potential. Before we start the damage test, let us first talk about Emilie's damage sources. There's actually quite a lot. Some are stronger than the other, some are just there to trigger her passive. The first one is not the main nor the strongest source of her damage, but is very important to her kit. It's one of the least favorite reactions in game. Burning. You will not see very big numbers in burning, mainly because this reaction scales purely with EM and character level, while Emilie scales with attack. Plus, she also does not directly buff burning damage. But there are actually two reasons why this is important for Emilie. First is because although the damage is smaller than the other sources, it is still damage over time, which means it still deals damage. To be exact, there are 4 instances of ticks of pyro damage per second. 2 seconds of burning is equivalent to 1 overload reaction, so it's not really a lot. Next, and more importantly, one of her passives gives her increased damage when there is a burning opponent based on her attack for up to 36% when 2400 attack is reached. That's like a 4-piece artifact set effect. So burning is some sort of a catalyst for her to deal more damage. To visualize it, here is her damage without burning. I know, it's kinda low, it's giving DS burst, right? For that. Anyways, here is her damage when there is burning reaction. It's not yet a lot, but you'll appreciate it more once we do the damage test. A third of her damage comes from her elemental skill, Fragrance Extraction. When used, she will create this Lumidious case. This will attack enemies every 1.5 seconds, dealing Dendro damage. This lantern starts at level 1. However, if an opponent is burning, they will give off scents. I don't know what type of scent, it's kinda weird, right? Am I the only one? So, 1 scent can be created every 2 seconds. The Lumidious case absorbs this. The lantern increases its level to 2 once it gathers 2 scents, on which it will now fire an extra puff of damage. So a total of 2 Dendro damage. And the Dendro damage and AoE will be increased too. It takes around 4 seconds to level the lantern up to 2, so it is important to start the rotation with her skill right away. What's impressive with her skill is the duration, which is 22 seconds, with only 14 seconds cooldown. But recasting the skill will reset the level of the lantern. But amazingly, her burst can reset the duration of the Lumidious case once it is done. So essentially unlimited level to Lumidious case. That is why a chunk of her damage is from her skill, because it's just always there, dealing damage if done correctly. The next big source of her damage is from her elemental burst, Aromatic Explication. Once activated, it will remove the Lumidious case created by her skill, then cast another lantern which is now level 3. That lasts only 2.8 seconds. It's really short, but it actually showers Dendro damage every 0.3 seconds. However, if there is only one enemy, it will only be hit 4 times. As I mentioned earlier, once the duration of the burst has ended, it will refresh the duration of the Lumidious case from her skill, on which the level is based on what it is before the burst was casted. Now, one of the biggest sources of her damage is her passive, Lingering Fragrance. Every time her lantern collects 2 scents, it will release a Clear Dew cologne that will deal AoE Dendro damage equal to 600% of Emilie's attack. The numbers you will see from this are quite huge. However, this can only be triggered at around every 4 seconds. Seeing the damage from this passive is very satisfying, but sadly, this is not considered skill damage. Take note of this because this will be important in our artifact damage test later. So in summary, Emilie has 4 sources of damage: burning, and then her raw Dendro damage from her skill, burst, and passive. I know you're excited for the damage test, but let us set some rules. First, we will not include burning in the calculation of the damage, as the pyro character can also trigger burning. With that, only the raw Dendro damage from her skill, burst, and passive will be recorded. Before we start, let me be straightforward and tell you that the best artifact set is actually the combination of Unfinished Reverie equipped by Emilie and Deepwood Memories equipped by another character. This maximizes her damage by letting her get the 50% buff from the Reverie, while the Deepwood Wearer decreases Dendro resistance of the enemy. However, this is not always possible for teams with a main DPS like Arlecchino or Risley, since having someone else's wear the Deepwood Memories won't really buff the main DPS, resulting in a DPS loss. So that's why we will test those artifacts individually and also together. For the damage test, we will use Zhongli for resistance shred and attack buff from the Tenacity, Sarah for attack buff, and more importantly, Bennett for both attack buff from his burst and the bless and as a burning trigger. So this is basically a hyper carry Emilie team. Unfinished Reverie feels like it's really made for Emilie. The 2-piece set gives 18% attack and Emilie scales with attack. The 4-piece set is actually quite good. When the user is off-field for 3 seconds, the damage is increased by 50%. However, if there is no burning for more than 6 seconds, this bonus decreases over time. But when an enemy is burning, it will increase again by up to 50%. With Emilie, using this, you basically have a 100% effect uptime. Here is my build for Emilie with the Reverie. I will try my best to get the stats as close as possible for the rest of the artifact sets. Let us first try without damage buff for the team. With only burning, the level 1 skill's highest damage is almost 4,600. Level 2 is more than double with almost 10,200. Her burst deals at around 27,300 per hit at highest. And lastly, her passive deals 47,000, which is impressive considering there is no team buff yet. Now, let's try it with the full team buff. I recorded the skill damage separately since it's hard to capture once we use her burst. Her level 1 skill deals around 8,700. Her level 2 Lantern, on the other hand, deals almost 24,800, which is more than double compared to 10,200 earlier. Her burst highest damage was 64,600, which is actually high. And surprisingly, her passive's highest damage was 104,700. I have high expectation for this set and it actually delivered. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this video, please subscribe to my channel because I make Genshin Impact guides like this almost every week. Next is Deepwood Memories, which I also have high expectations for. The 2-piece set effect gives 15% damage bonus, which directly buffs Emilie. 4-piece effect, on the other hand, decreases Dendro resistance of enemies when elemental skill or burst is used. So just like the Reverie, Emilie can activate this every time. Here's my build for the Deepwood set. Without any buff from the team, the level 1 Lantern damage is 4,200. The level 2 is around 9,700, just slightly lower than the Reverie. The burst highest damage is 25,800. Her passive's highest damage is 44,500. So far, the results are actually very close to Reverie, which is expected. Now, let's try it with complete buff. Level 1 skill deals around 8,600, while level 2 is around 19,400 at highest. This time, the difference with Reverie can be seen here. Her burst highest damage was 62,300. This 2,000 less than the Reverie, so it's still very good. However, her highest passive damage is 86,800, which is a significant difference than of Reverie. Overall, this set is very strong and can even compete with Reverie if it has a slightly higher substat. Now, how about the Golden Troupe? This set's 2-piece effect gives 20% skill damage bonus, while the 4-piece effect gives another 25% and then another 25% if the character is off-field. It seems very good, right? But there are two reasons why this set is not the best for Emilie. First, this set only buffs skill damage, but only 1/3 of Emilie's damage is from her skill, which means the other 2/3, which are from her burst and passive, are not buffed. Lastly, if you want to trigger the Fortress effect, Emilie should be off-field, but Emilie's skill does not snapshot. So buffs from characters like Bennett cannot be utilized if she is off-field. You either have to put her on-field to get Benny's buff, but sacrifice the 20% skill buff, or have her off-field in exchange for lesser attack. Here's my build for this set. Let's now see how the set performs. Level 1 skill is higher than Golden Troupe but lower than Reverie at 4,355. Level 2 Lantern damage is around 8,900, which is surprisingly low. Her burst maxed out at 18,400, while the passive at 34,500. To be honest, this is kinda disappointing. Will it keep up when a full team is used? Let's see.
Let's light it up! Everybody stand! No turning back!
With all the buff, her level 1 skill damage is at 7,700, while the level 2 is at 12,900, which again is significantly lower considering the effect. Her burst max damage is almost 44,000, while the passive is only at 71,200. The damage is very low compared to the first two artifact sets. Before we proceed with the verdict, let me first show you how strong Emilie is when the Reverie set is used on her while another character uses Deepwood. In this case, let's have Sarah wear it. Here, her burst max damage is almost 77,600. Her passive deals a massive 111,400. Very good, right? And summary, the Reverie set gives the highest damage for all her damage sources, followed by the Deepwood memories. Their difference is inconsequential, so that means you may use either of them. But to reach Emilie's max potential, wearing the Unfinished Reverie for Emilie and the Deepwood for another support is the best choice. Golden Troupe, on the other hand, is best given to another skill-reliant sub-DPS like Fischl or Yaemiko and Furina. Using this to Emilie is not really worth it. Maybe using a 2-2-piece attack with better substats will save you resources instead of farming for this artifact set. Emilie is really fun to use and actually outputs good damage as long as you use the right artifact for her. How about you? Which artifact do you prefer? Comment below. Again, this is Earlbedo. See you next time!